first individual is an artist, a woodworker, making furniture, making cabinetry in the summertime to pay for his snowboarding hobby in the wintertime. The second guy is a college student. He's making custom 6-panel hats to pay for his college degree. The last three, a maven, so I'm using Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point, but a maven, a connector, and a salesman that all ran a nationwide snowboard tour, bringing snow from the mountains into some of the biggest campuses in the country. Now, these are the 5 founders of Shwood, right? All of us were in our early 20s. So, we had no idea about eyewear. None of us had any experience about eyewear. But we all had a desire to make a unique living, doing something that is new, doing something that is innovative that other people hadn't done before. And then we all had a strong desire to experiment, so to try new things and to do new things. So I'm Ryan Kirkpatrick. I'm the CEO, as Terry said, and I'm the connector from that snowboard tour. And when we first met Eric on tour, he had a broad concept for what wood sunglasses could be. And so we've turned that into a brand. So we make the finest handcrafted wooden eyewear, and we also use other experimental materials, and it's really natural based. And so they're all handcrafted. We have 50 craftspeople here in Portland making the product, and we're sold all over the world. We have, it's interesting that we've had so much of an opportunity to grow with a unique product and a unique concept. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of background. So Eric's in his garage one day. He's sitting there, and he's making a piece of cabinet to, make $100 to go snowboarding. And he's looking out the back door and sees a tree branch and says, hey, that tree branch would look really cool as a pair of sunglasses. So he gets his saw, climbs up the ladder, cuts off the branch. It happened to be in his neighbor's yard, but he didn't really care. So takes the branch down and starts going to work. And then, so he's like, well, I don't have any sunglasses, so where am I going to get lenses? So he jumps on his bike, goes down to the corner store, buys a set of sunglasses, takes the lenses out, shapes them into the shape that he wanted, put them in the frame. And then he's thinking about it, he's working with it some more, and he's like, gosh, how am I going to put the temples on the frame? So much to his mom's dismay, he goes into the kitchen, takes a cabinet off the wall, steals the hinges, and makes a rough pair of sunglasses. So pretty proud of what he had accomplished. Eric jumps on a skateboard, goes down to the skate park, and goes to see his friends down at the skate park, and they're like, wow, Eric, that is really cool. That's a really cool thing. So what ends up happening is Eric gets obsessed with eyewear. He's obsessed, constantly looking at new things, looking at new ways to use wood, looking at new ways to make the product. And so then Eric, his migratory pattern from work to play, he jumps on the snowboard tour. That's where we happen to meet Eric. So Eric comes on the snowboard tour, and I can remember the first time I ever saw the product. It was kind of funny because if you can picture this thing, it's a barbaric pair of sunglasses with cabinet hinges, but it was like, much different from my pair of Oakleys at the time. It was unique, and it was heartfelt, and it was something that was like, gosh, there's a craftsmanship quality to this that's not stamped out. This is something that's unique and different that, I think that it could be really cool. So, we go around on tour, and we're snowboarding at the best places in the world. We're all living in a Greyhound bus. We become good friends naturally. All of us become good friends, and we get back and we're like, all right, there's a concept here. Let's do something with this concept. So, Eric has a rough prototype. We've kind of validated the concept on the campuses because everywhere we went, students were like, oh, where do I get a pair of those? Well, Eric takes him 2 days to make a pair, and it's not exactly scalable. So, we were like, well, we have to figure that out. How are we going to manufacture these things so we can actually sell them to our target market? Then we have to figure out, okay, what cost do we have to sell them at? Because, again, not really anybody with much retail experience. Like, what do our margins have to be to sell them to stores? So that's much different than if you just sell them direct to the customer. So we spent 6 months basically moonlighting, trying to figure out how to make this thing happen, figuring out manufacturing process, figuring out who could be our target customers, and kind of developing some early relationships. And then in August of 2009, we all sat down in a room, and it was like, okay, this is what we have to do. All right, we got to buy some equipment. We got to buy some wood. We got to build a website, and we got to get a little office space, right? So we said, how much is it going to cost to do all this? And it was basically like, it wasn't really like, how much does it cost? It's more like, how much do we have? And so we just took the money that we had, we threw it into it, and 3 months later, we had a website built. And we had 40 pieces in inventory. And we were ready to do this launch, this beta launch, which we had only aimed to be at friends and family. So, we were just anticipating getting feedback to make the product better. So as it so happens, it went viral. So, a family member sent it to a friend whose friend ran a blog. That blog just so happens that every design and fashion blog editor reads that blog. And so within 48 hours, we had sold out of our initial 40 pair inventory, and it sent us into a 2-year backlog of orders. We spent 2.5 years figuring out the manufacturing process, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit here. But so basically, that was Shwood in 2009. Where we are today, like I said, we have 50 employees. We've implemented a lean manufacturing process in our facility. All handmade here in Portland. As we said, we won Dell's competition. We've been featured by Instagram as best practices for social media for business. We've done some pretty cool projects. I'm proud of the projects we do because, like I said, at heart, all 5 of us, we're experimenters. So we get excited about new experiments and new ideas. So a concept that we had a couple years ago was, hey, Bushmills Irish whiskey. Hey, how about you give us one of those whiskey barrels, because whiskey is aged in oak casks. And so we said, hey, why don't you give us one of those? We'll make some sunglasses out of them. Okay, sounds like a cool idea. So they ship them all the way from Ireland to our shop in Beaverton. And so, I can remember we've cut the first one open, and it was like, we got to do this outside because sunglasses will look pretty poor at the end of the day because it smelled really bad. But we made a great product with that. And we launched 12 hours later. We had sold out of 200 pairs. So it was a phenomenal piece for us to be able to do, and I was really excited about that. It's, we've done a lot of other innovative things in our marketplace. Let's see. Okay, so I kind of want to talk, about some of my lessons. I just kind of talked about the highlights of the last 2.5 years, but I've learned a lot of lessons, a lot of hard lessons that, fallen on my face multiple times kind of thing. So kind of want to talk about, hey, if I was sitting in a startup shoe again, if I was in that time, if I was, back me, 2009, what are some things that I wish I could tell myself? So there are 3 things I'm going to hit on. So one is get a hold of your customers early, as early as humanly possible with a concept and idea. Second is make sure you tell your story. It's important to have that dialed in. And the third is look for experts, because you can't do it all yourself. So who in here has a product or idea that they want to launch? And now, how many people have talked to customers? Good. How many have POs? Okay. So getting that early customer feedback is really important for 2 things. Market validation is the obvious one, right? You want to make sure there's enough market to support your efforts because it's a lot of work. And, if you're not passionate, as Dr. Farrell said, you're not going to be able to hack it. So you got to make sure that there's enough reward at the end of the day to make it worth your while. But the second is those early people in the marketplace, they become your believers. You will find people out there that believe in your product, that want to see it succeed, and that will do things on your behalf. So that when you have a product or service, they will be your first customers. Not only will they be your first customers, but they will also be your evangelists. So they will go out and tell other people about your brand or your product. And those people are really, really crucial in starting a brand or a product or a service. So the second thing is you got to make sure you have your story straight. And we had a large founding team. There was 5 of us, right? And everyone had a different vision for what our company was going to be, right? Some said, well, we snowboard, so we're a snowboard brand. Some said, hey, we're a lifestyle guy, so we're a lifestyle brand. And really, it took us a long time to get that together. And over the last couple of years, I've had a chance to learn. And there's a guy called Cameron Herold, and he wrote a book called Double Double. And he talks in his book about something called a painted picture. A painted picture is basically a 1 to 2 page document that talks about what your brand looks like, what your company looks like 3 years from now. So if you were to walk into the room, into your company, what would you see? How would your customers feel about you? How does the market feel about you? How do your employees talk? All of the things that basically you have a vision for your brand, but put it on paper so that other people can see that. That's a really important thing to do because there are so many things that you have to do in a startup. It's easy to look at an opportunity and say, let's chase that one. But if it doesn't follow your vision, then you should probably stay unfocused or you should reevaluate your vision. So it's really, really important to have all those players on the same page. Now, I'm going to make a quick plug because I think it's been really valuable to us, and we're a brand building group. We love to build brands. But there's a guy called Simon Sinek, and if you haven't read his book, Start With Why. You should. He has a TED Talk, so if you just want to watch the video online, you can do that too. But he basically talks about, people buy your what. They buy the product, the what. But they build brand loyalty on the why you do it. Why do you do what you do? I mean, take Scott with Loopworks, right? He upcycles, right? He takes material that would have otherwise been wasted and he makes it into something else. Now, you may say, hey, this laptop sleeve is really cool. I really like the color blue. But you buy into Scott's product because you believe in the idea that, hey, let's eliminate that waste, right? But you don't tell people that, like, you're not talking about that when you talk about features. You're talking about, it's blue and it's really comfortable and it fits really right. And you talk about the features, but you buy into the brand because of why they do it. So the third is get experts involved with your company, right? So there's two sides to this. And this is one where I'll talk a little bit about how we had issues. So the first is people who actually do work. The second is people who give advice. So the first, people who do work. So I'll give the example for Shwood. So, as startup entrepreneurs, we think we can do it all because we have to, right? We have to do the books. We have to go out and hustle the deal. We have to design the product. We have to ship it. We have to sweep the floor. We have to do everything. So we sit there and we say, okay, we can do everything. But at some point, there's something that's critical to the success of your business that you can't be best in the world at. And take a look at that at the beginning and say, where can I find those experts? Where can I find those people who will help me to get through that? And the example for Shwood was production. My management team, my leadership team, spent more than 60% of our time in the first 3 years of our company, 2.5 years of our company, on production. Because none of us had manufacturing experience, not a one. So we're just trying to figure it out. When we finally said, you know what, we don't know anything about that, we brought in a guy who's an expert. And he has been phenomenal. Without his help, we wouldn't have been able to implement lean. 1 out of every 4 pairs of sunglasses we started at that point in time, we threw in the garbage because of defect. He's taken us down below 10%. So finding an expert who can be that partner in helping you grow is really crucial. The second thing is find advisors, right? So how many know the difference between a board of directors and a board of advisors? So for those of you who don't, this is something I didn't really realize, but board of directors can fire the CEO. Board of advisors cannot. They're there to help you be successful. So the goal is to make you be successful. And so find those people out there who are willing to give you advice on being successful. I mean, Dan Whitaker is a guy, he's sitting right there. He's been an advisor to me since very, very early. And finding those people who support what you do and who will help you and who will advise you and who have been where you want to be. So I always look for criteria in advisors saying, hey, look, do they believe in the concept of the brand that I built? Second, do they, have they been where I want to be? And then third, do they believe in me? And then that's how I say, hey, let's build something, and you put an advisory panel together. So I would say, break it down, get a hold of the customers as soon as possible. Second, make sure your story is congruent and that all players on your team, your suppliers, your vendors, everybody is on the same page. And then get a hold of experts who can help you grow your business and be successful. I don't know if I have time for it. Am I out? I got a quote that I like. Is that all right?
Quote?
Okay.
Quote away.
So it's a big one, and I can't really remember it, so I'm going to read it.
Wait a second. Oh, wait a second, though. That's Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena?
The man in the arena.
Oh, go for it, dude.
Yeah.
I love this. This is my favorite, actually.
So every time that I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, oh man, what do I, this is rough or whatever, I think about this. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deed could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, knows the great devotions, who spends himself at a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails daring greatly, so that his place shall never be amongst those souls who know neither victory nor defeat. So, there you go.